This morning, we've got special coverage of a decision by Congress that will impact all of us in this country. Lawmakers are going to let the Farm Bill expire at the end of this month and plan not to act on it until after the November elections. That means a lot of farmers are going to face rising cost of feed because of this year's drought. Without the subsidies that are provided in the bill and by the laws of economics, this probably means higher costs for dairy farmers in Wisconsin. That'll lead to higher prices at the grocery stores in New York, Chicago, and just about every other city. Well, here to talk about the debate that is stalled in Congress in the Capitol Hill is a Republican congressman who is ready to cast his ballot right now, Arkansas Representative Rick Crawford. Mr. Crawford, thank you for joining us. And when you heard Congressman Boehner say those words yesterday, what was your reaction?
Well, I would certainly prefer to take up the Farm Bill now rather than push that off to the lame duck session, but I think there are obviously some concerns in our conference about whether we can get the votes to pass it. And, the thing about this particular Farm Bill, and you alluded to this in your coverage earlier, that what we're seeing the breakdown is in the nutrition title of the Farm Bill, and that has to do with food stamps and other programs. And so I don't think leadership on either side is very favorable at this point, at least in the House, to take up the Farm Bill, because the House version included a $16.5 billion cut to the nutrition title. And there are some that want to cut more, and there are some that want to spend more. And so that's kind of what we're wrestling with right now.
You signed the discharge petition to bring this bill to the floor. You needed 218 votes. Do you think that if it had gotten to the floor, you would have had the votes?
Well, it's close. I mean, as you said, 218 votes. I think we could probably count on anywhere from 120 to 150 on the Republican side, and then we would hope that the Democrats could deliver the balance. But we really don't know, and I think that's really where the disconnect came with leadership, and just really not wanting to roll the dice on that until they knew with a little more certainty that, yes, we could pass a Farm Bill. And I would say that this particular Farm Bill is a very bipartisan bill. I'm on the Ag Committee. We passed this out of the House Ag Committee on a 35-11 vote. And so at a time when people have really lost faith in our ability to do things on a bipartisan basis, I really think the Ag Committee delivered. And that's why we were, so many of us were so committed to seeing the bill brought to the floor sooner rather than later. But it would also add.
Go ahead. If I could just interrupt for a second, that's what seems so frustrating.
Sure.
This seems to have bipartisan support. What's going to happen to these 16 million folks who work in agriculture across this country at the end of the month if this bill expires?
Well, I think you just hit it right there. What we need to be about here in Washington is providing certainty. And here's the thing about agriculture. In a good year, agriculture is risky and very low margin. And so when we've had a year like we're coming off right now, where we see 2/3 of the country suffering through drought, and we see programs that have expired as a result of not having adequate funding for the entire bill, for example, the livestock indemnity program in the 2008 bill, obviously what folks in middle America and our ag producing regions want is some level of certainty. And quite frankly, our lenders are saying the same thing, because most farmers use loans, production loans that they get from their local bank or their farm credit office. And without having that policy in place, that could jeopardize their ability to go get those operating loans to put their next crop in the ground. So certainly we're concerned about that.
We're a little short on time. What can people do? Would you recommend to people to just start calling their congressmen and flooding their offices and saying, we want action now instead of after November?
Well, certainly that's an option, and I would not discount that at all. We've heard from our farmers. I went on a 5-day farm tour in my district during the August recess, and the message is pretty consistent. We'd like a Farm Bill now, and so I hope that leadership recognizes that. I think they do, but there's obviously some reservation about whether or not they have the votes to make it happen.
All right. Well, hopefully folks will get on the phone, get on email, and tell their congressmen and congresswomen to get this done. Congressman Crawford, thank you so much.